Hey everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Movies for Life, and welcome to this 1983 horror movie review video as part of my current 1980s horror movie series. So the movie we're going to take a look at today is a slasher movie from 1983. It's one that I do have the physical media for. I have it on DVD, and it's a slasher movie that I've been holding off on watching for quite a while. Um, so when it came up to watch and review, I definitely approached it with great interest and curiosity. And that movie is from 1983, Pieces, which I have a Diamond Entertainment version. So this isn't the um what the hell's the one that was released a few years ago on Blu-ray. Um the Grindhouse releasing, that's what it was. I don't have the Grindhouse releasing version. Although I might get it because I have to say I enjoyed this slasher quite a bit. But anyway, with that being said, let's talk about Pieces from 1983. I love the taglines for this movie. It's exactly what you think it is, and it really is. And then the other one is it's not on here. Um, I think it's on the Grindhouse releasing version, but it says you don't need to go to Texas for a chainsaw massacre. Those are two great taglines for the movie. But anyway, with that being said, Pieces. It's actually a film that was released in Spain in 1982. So I know in some places you might see it as a 1982 release, but I'm going by the U.S. release, which was 1983. But it is a Spanish film entitled Milgrotos Tin La Noche, which means the night has a thousand screams if you translate that into English. But Pieces is a 1982 slasher film directed by Juan Pecure Simon, written and produced by Dick Randall. The plot follows an unknown assailant killing female students at a college campus in Boston and using their body parts to make a human jigsaw puzzle. It's a co production between Spain, Italy, and the United States. Pieces was filmed largely in Spain. It was released in Spain in August of 1982 and was distributed in the United States the following year by Film Ventures International. So there you go. So, 10-year-old Timmy Reston is berated by his mother for playing with a jigsaw puzzle of a nude woman. After she orders him to dispose of the puzzle, he returns with an axe, murders her, then dismembers her body with the hacksaw. When the police arrive, Timmy hides in a closet and pretends to be a witness to the crime. The police believe Timmy's story and he is sent to live with his aunt. 40 years later, after witnessing a female skateboarder smash into a mirror, a black clad figure opens a box containing a photograph of Timmy's mother and her bloody dress. He takes out the bloody jigsaw puzzle and starts to put it together. A female student studying on the lawn of her Boston University is decapitated with a chainsaw by an unidentified killer who steals her head. Lieutenant Bracken and his partner Sergeant Holden investigate the murder. Arthur Brown, a reserve professor of anatomy who is teased by students for being homosexual, gives detectives a tour of the school where the groundskeeper Willard is trimming hedges with a chainsaw. A student, Kendall, receives a note from a female classmate to meet her at the pool for sex. But the killer sends Kendall a fake note to divert him and then murders the girl with a chainsaw. Willard arrives on the scene and is arrested as a suspect after two police find a chainsaw by the victim, missing four. After wait a minute, let me start over. Willard arrives on the scene and is arrested as a suspect after the police find a chainsaw by the victim, missing her torso at the pool. Yeah, so there you go. That's to set up the premise, the beginning of Pieces from 1982. As far as the cast goes, we have Christopher George as Lieutenant Bracken, Bra- Frank Branagh as Sergeant Holden, Linda Day as Mary Riggs, Paul Smith as Willard, Edmund Purdom as Dean Reston, Sarah as Kendall, Jack Taylor as Professor Brown, and Isabel Lequeux as Sylvia. So yeah, that's to set up the premise and the cast for the 1983 U.S. released film Pieces. As I said, this is a really good slasher in my opinion. Not a great movie, but it's a really good slasher. Kind of has everything that I want in an 80s slasher movie. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it, starting with the things that I liked about Pieces. Um, as I said, it has everything you could want in an 80s slasher, from on screen kills to gore to nudity to a whodunit mystery with uh, Giallo aspects that work very well. It checks all the boxes, I think, for me and for most other 80s slasher fans. The kills are very visceral and well done, with a lot of them, and with my favorite actually being a waterbed kill that doesn't have to do with the chainsaw that the killer uses, but it actually is a stabbing with a butcher knife. Just the mixture of water and blood in this waterbed as the victim is being killed and stabbed, and then she gets a knife through the back of her neck that comes out her mouth. The whole sequence is very well done, and it's like I said, it's my favorite. Actually, my favorite kill of the entire movie, and it has nothing to do with the chainsaw. Obviously, the movie has a ton of blood and gore and gratuitous nudity, including male genitalia and full female front and back. So, I mean, it's got everything. It's full fledged nudity in this movie, and again, it's kind of par for the course for a lot of 80s slasher movies, especially from earlier in the decade. So if you're somebody that likes gratuitous nudity, that likes blood and gore, that likes on-screen kills, then you're gonna like this movie, to say the least. The movie, and specifically the kills, I thought were very well paced. It never felt like there were any wasted scenes or moments throughout the movie. I was never bored. I think they do a pretty good job of kind of keeping the movie interesting and engaging, but having kills like every 5 to 10 minutes throughout the movie. So, yeah, the movie's very well done in that regard. The whodunit aspect really worked for me as well, as I did not see the reveal twist coming of who the killer was in the movie. I did enjoy myself, though, with the setup to it. I thought it was very well set up with different red herrings and the Giallo aspects of the movie, and ultimately the paid off reveal, which I thought worked pretty well. And it does have several like shock endings, if you want to say, which is might or might not work for everybody. I have a little bit of a beef with it, which I'll get into with my cons here, but it's just a very well. I mean, this movie doesn't try to fool anybody. It's an early 80s slasher movie, and it was made with that intention, with a lot of the schlocky, cheesy sort of side humor at the same time that women are being cut up with chainsaws for a larger reason that has to do with the jigsaw puzzle. It's just as I said, I don't know how you could not like this movie as a slasher if you're a fan of 80s slasher movies, to be honest with you. It has some good suspense that's built through the stalking scenes, the score, and some of the giallo elements of the shadowy figure and the silhouettes of the killer that we get with his hat, and he's got like a scarf over his mouth and the trench coat. I wouldn't classify this as a giallo movie. I know some people consider it to be. I do think it's an American slasher movie, but it definitely has giallo elements in it that I think are pretty successful. And when it says that it's a combination of a United States, Italy, and Spain production, that makes a lot of sense because it's shot in Spain. It was released in Spain first. It has giallo elements associated with Italian giallo films, and obviously it's a United States early '80s slasher, so it makes sense there. My final pro that I put down is I think the uniqueness of having the killer use a chainsaw. It's only been done in one other movie, and that I could make the argument that the Texas Chainsaw Massacre isn't a full blown slasher movie as much as it just is. Like a psychological, uneasy, atmospheric horror movie. Um, so as an '80s slasher movie, I think using a chainsaw, this one separates itself in that regard and is very unique as what am I trying to say here? It's very unique in that regard, is what I'm trying to say. So those are the things that I like about Pieces from 1983. As far as cons go, because again, it's not a perfect movie. I think it's more of a bad movie and a better slasher, if that makes sense. Um, the writing isn't great in this movie, especially having some really odd and bad written dialogue between characters that doesn't come off very well. And the acting is even less great than the writing, in my opinion. The filming, certain aspects of the filming and editing, are pretty uneven throughout the movie. Again, it is a low budget movie. I think it was made for a couple 100,000, so not like the lowest budget of the 80s slasher movies, but definitely not a Hollywood production kind of movie. The characters are pretty bland and uninteresting, especially the college co-eds and even some of the main characters here. I don't think are all that interesting that I mentioned in the cast. The final ending shot, I don't necessarily know that I needed it. Now, there's a couple of different endings. You could say that there's like three shock endings to this movie. One is the reveal of who the killer is and the ultimate confrontation and disposal of him. Two, there's another sequence where one of the detectives leans against a bookshelf and let's just say I don't want to give too much away, even though this movie's been out for what, 45 years almost, but 40 years, 43 years. Let's just say there's another figurine that you weren't expecting that falls out onto one of our main characters here in the mother's dress from the beginning, her bloody dress. And then I'm fine with those two. I think those were I think they could have ended the movie there. But then there's a final shot that really doesn't make a lot of sense in the context of the movie. Now again, it's a schlocky 80s slasher movie, so how much are you really gonna, it doesn't ruin the movie by any means, and how much are you really going to complain about it? I just thought that it felt a little bit tacked on, like we got to have the audience leaving on a like a horror, like scare, jump scare high, if you will. I will say that final shot is very visceral. It's not really just a jump scare. It actually does something with that scare. So I'll give it credit for that, but I still have to bring it up I wasn't sure how I felt about it when I first watched the movie, if I thought it was too much. But as time has gone on since I'm doing my review now from the end of the movie, I'm going to say that it's probably not, because of what they do with that final shot. If you know, you know. And then my other con, there's a red herring that's pretty obvious that they're not the red herring, having to do with one of the characters. It's the groundskeeper, played by Paul Smith. Paul Smith, who's also Pluto from the Popeye movie. Is it Pluto or Bluto? Pluto is the dog from Disney, right? I can tell I haven't watched Popeye in like 3.5 decades. It might be Bluto, I don't know. But the big guy that Popeye fights, Paul Smith was very well cast for that role, by the way. But in this role, there's no way that he's the killer, and they try to force it a little bit with him being a red herring. But overall, guys, I mean, these are. I don't go into 80s slasher movies for the acting or the writing necessarily, but I do have to bring up those technical aspects of the movie. Definitely hold it back from being an even higher rated slasher movie. But with that being said, I could see myself watching this when I'm in the mood for just to turn your brain off 80s slasher movie with lots of gore and gratuitous nudity. So I'm going to give Pieces an 8 out of 10. I think this is one of the better. I don't know if better is the right word. I could see this being one of my go-to 80s slasher movies. Let's just leave it at that. So 8 out of 10 for Pieces from 1983. Go ahead and comment down below what you guys think of Pieces. Do you like it? Do you not? Comment down below. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and subscribe to my channel in case you haven't already. It would really help me out for the future content of my channel going forward. But with that being said, I hope you're enjoying these 1983 horror movie reviews. This was a big one, like I said, that I was looking forward to mark off another 80s slasher, which was a first-time watch for me. And I was, I think my expectations were met pretty well with it for the most part, 8 out of 10. So anyway, with that being said, thanks for watching. And as always, stay scared. Bye.